So, I mean, listen, like I said, it's one of those decisions that you sit there and say, okay, it's not Kurt Rambis, so thanks for that. It's not who I really wanted, so I'm not happy about that. And you're right there in the middle. And I really think that's the kind of answer it is. John in Freehold, what's up, John?
Good afternoon, Mike. How are you today?
What's happening?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Mike, regarding player personnel decisions that Phil Jackson's going to have to make moving forward here. He's going to have to be smart and selective in putting this roster together and hopefully building an eventual NBA champion.
No, he's got to be able to recruit. I mean, it's about time. Listen, you brought Phil Jackson here to be able to recruit some players here. I mean, let's be honest, okay? The guy you thought could attract some players. That's what you get when you bring in a Pat Riley or a Phil Jackson, those kind of people. You expect them to be able to recruit people to the franchise, and that's really important. He made the right pick in Porzingis. It was a good, solid pick, but
right.
He has not made a lot of other good decisions so far, in my mind.
Well, when you talk about Hornacek, and then I want to talk about the player personnel decisions. As far as the coach, real quick, is concerned, Mike, the one thing I know about this guy is he's a very, very hard worker. He studies the game. He knows the game well. He was a runner-up to be the NBA Coach of the Year 2 seasons ago. He took the Phoenix Suns
Well, how would you know? Let me ask you something. How would you know he's a hard worker?
Well, this is what everybody's reporting.
I'm saying, that just because you read somewhere he's a hard worker doesn't make him a hard worker. I mean, the guy was a coach for 2 years.
Well, what we know is he took
we know he was a hell of a player. That's what we know. That we do know. See, that we do know. We saw plenty of body of evidence of that. That guy,
right.
He's a basketball lifer. He knows the sport. I agree totally. He's been around the game forever. He was a really good player. I loved him as a player. So that's not an issue. And he went and paid his dues. He was an assistant coach. He jumped out running as a head coach, had a terrific first year, and then things went sour. That's where we are. He's an offensive coach. We know that. Understandably, he and Jackson, without question, melded on what their offensive philosophies are, or he wouldn't have gotten the job. So we know that going in. So that's obviously what went on from that standpoint. So we know that. As far as his other attributes as a head coach, I think we're going to learn them. I don't think we know them all yet. I think you'll learn those by watching him day in and day out. How he handles adversity, how he handles the media in the city, how he handles himself during the game, how well the team is prepared, stuff like that. We're going to have to wait and see. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to have to wait and see. And the coaching decision is still secondary to getting the right players, because you can win with a lot of lousy coaches if you got good enough players. Justin in New Haven. What's up, Justin?
Good afternoon, Mike.
What's happening?
I've got two questions that are sort of related. First, with Jackson hiring Hornacek, do you feel this is part of Jackson's or any idea of him tanking just this season to get a high draft pick? Does that mean you in any direction?
No. I don't see that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, well, I mean, it's just things that I've heard on the radio, but
I don't see that in any way. Why would hiring Hornacek echo that?
Well, I mean, he was technically unemployed.
So if you hired another coach, that would mean that you'd be afraid you would win. What coach would that be?
What
coach is going to win with bad players?
Sure, but what I mean by that is Hornacek basically was unemployed. So he comes in, and let's say a several-year deal, and Jackson says, well, you come on, we're going to tank this year. And then
why is that? Where did that come from? What does that have to do with Hornacek that you're going to tank this year? Where does that come from?
Well, you wouldn't go out and spend a high-priced, high-profile coach to tank. You see what I'm saying?
No, I don't see that at all. Okay. No, I mean, if I'm Hornacek, I wouldn't even take the job under those circumstances. Why would I take the job to fail? Why would I'm going to figure Hornacek's a competitor. Okay, I'm going to.
I would hope so. But
listen, he always was as a player. His body of work as a player is he was a competitor, a heck of a competitor. So, I mean, if I'm Hornacek, I wouldn't take the job if someone tells me you're going in there to fail. We're going to set it up so you can lose. I wouldn't even take the job. That one I don't understand. Mark in Jersey City, what's up, Mark?
Hey, Mike, I'm happy with the selection, if only because to me it seems like Phil Jackson is still interested. If that makes sense, it almost seems like he might be losing interest. And I think if he took one of the bigger names you were hoping for, it would almost give him an out. So this, to me, seems like he's still looking to execute a plan, if that makes sense.
No, I understand that premise. I think it shows you that I think he is still committed. I agree, and he had to find someone he could work with, that he can feel like he has to be able to work with, which he does because he's still running the franchise. So it has to be someone he can work with. Now, like I said, I would like him to give the coach his space as far as the coaching staff goes, but I don't know if that will be the case. Let's see what kind of there's going to be. Clearly, the way this league works now is if your strength is on one end of the ball, one side of the ball, then your lead assistant is going to be a strong guy on the other side of the ball. So clearly, Hornacek's lead assistant is going to be a veteran guy who is a good defensive coach. That's one you can count on being on the bench because Hornacek is not going to coach the offense. He'll coach the offense and he won't coach the defense. So there'll be a defensive assistant on who will be the first hire. Will be a defensive assistant.
Now, how long do you think Hornacek would have, and is that the kiss of death for Phil if it doesn't work?
What do you mean? How long will he have to coach the team?
Yeah, I mean, before they decide this isn't working.
Oh, I think he's got the rest of Jackson's stay here. He's got the rest of the three. He's got the next 3 years for sure.
Excellent. I hope so, because I thought the one caller with the Terry Collins comment, there was a correlation as far as if you just stick with him and see it through, hopefully the plan will pay some dividends.
Well, they got to get players. I mean, that's still the most important part of this. I mean, you want a guy that you trust leading the team, but you still got to get players. That's the bottom line. They have got to get players. That's what it's all about. It's all about getting players. Otherwise, it's not. It's not very complicated. It's about getting players. That's the whole thing. Andrew in New Hyde Park. What's up, Andrew?
Well, so far I am keeping my calm and my cool over Phil Jackson's selection over the coach.
Oh, okay.
Now I definitely.
I think we are all extremely relieved about that.
Oh, trust me, because if Rambis was the coach, let me tell you, I would literally be screaming.
What were you going to do?
I would be yelling and complaining and probably losing it because I am a suffering Knicks fan who wants something good to happen.
Thankfully, that did not happen.
Yeah, exactly. And now, the point you just made a second ago, I completely agree with you.
Right.
It's time for Phil to sign some free agents.
Well, listen, that's for sure. I mean, listen, we got to get better players. I mean, without them, you're not going anywhere. David in Brooklyn, what's up, David?
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good. What's happening?
Mike, you're working with the assumption that if Rambis is on the staff, that means that Phil Jackson forced him on. Is that correct?
I have to admit, yes.
So, because I saw a report this morning that Hornacek and Rambis were teammates for 3 years. Is it at all possible that Hornacek opted to have Rambis on the staff?
I mean, it's going to be a hard sell for me to believe that myself. Now, of course, I don't like the guy I can't be to me, this is me now. I'm coming in to do the job. I'm brought in to run the franchise, right? I want a guy with an all-time losing record who was just the coach there last year to be on the staff with the same players that he coached as the head coach last year. I want that guy in the huddle this year? Yes or no?
What would be I agree with you, but what would be the purpose of Phil hiring Hornacek and then forcing Rambis on him? It just doesn't make sense. If he wants Hornacek
because he believes that he likes Rambis and thinks that Rambis can be kind of his surrogate on the staff. I don't want, if Rambis is on the staff, I have a bad feel about the hire. That's me. Because why would you, as a head coach, I give you a job. I send you in to lead a new group of guys. You want the guy who coached them last year to a losing record to be there? You don't want him anywhere near that team. How would you possibly? You're sending there to do a job. You're sending there to turn a team around. You want the guy who was the coach there last year in there with him? And Hoosiers, when Gene Hackman walked in and took the whistle, when the guy threatened to send him down the main line there on a board, did he keep him or did he send him packing? When he took over in the huddle, what did he say to him? Leave the ball. That's what he told him. Same thing I would tell Rambis. Thank you. Leave the ball. If I can't tell Rambis, thank you, leave the ball, I got a problem if I'm Hornacek. So that's what I want to tell him. Listen, Kurt, thank you, leave the ball. Take the whistle, leave the ball. I don't want him anywhere near the team.